when finding the derivative of this function, I start off by deciding which rule I'm going to use, and I'm using the power rule. And then I will find the f of x, the f prime of x, the g of x, and the g prime of x. The f of x is going to be 4 times x to the 5th, and the g of x is going to be 7. The 7 is going to turn into a 0, and the f of x, f prime of x, is going to be 20x to the 4th. I found that by taking the 4 times x to the 5th, bringing this in front, so then it would be 5 times 4 to the x to the 5th, and then this would be 20x, and then you always subtract a 1, so then it would be 4. Since the 7 is a 0, the derivative of this function is going to be just 20x to the 4. For the next equation, which is sin times ex plus ln to the x. For this function, I am going to use the chain rule, and I'm going to start off by finding the f of x, f prime of x, g of x, and g prime of x, which will then be sin for the f prime, and the g of x is going to be ex plus ln to the x. Sin always is cosine when it comes to the f prime of x, and g prime of x is going to be ex, because that always stays the same, plus 1 over x, because ln x is 1 over x. Then I'm going to apply the chain rule, and the chain rule's equation would be f prime of g times g prime of x. And then to fill in this equation, I would then add in all of these terms where they belong, which would be cosine times e to the power of x plus ln x times ex plus 1 over x. And this would be my final product because it cannot no longer be simplified. For the next equation, which is square root of x times 5 to the x. I'm going to apply the product rule. And by doing so, I'm going to find f of x, f prime of x, g of x, and g prime of x first. F of x would be square root of x, and g of x is going to be 5x. F prime of x is going to be 1 over 2 square root of x. Or also could be written as this rewrite that. -1/2 to the power of -1/2. G prime of x is going to be 5x times ln 2 times 5. Okay, and then the product rule equation is f of g. To find that derivative would be f prime times g plus f times g prime. And then I'm going to take these f of x, g of x, g prime of x, f prime of x, and fill in the equation where they belong, which would then be 1 over 2 square root of x times 5x plus square root of x times 5 to the power of x times ln 5. And then to simplify this equation, and then going to take the 2 square root of x and add that to the other side of the equation, to the whole equation, to get rid of the denominator. In doing so, I have to multiply everything by 2 square root of x as well, because if you multiply denominator, you also have to multiply the top by the number as well. So then I would do 2 square root x times ln to the 5 square root times 5x plus 5x over 2. And then I would take the equation and go through it to simplify it even more, which would then be 2 ln times x, because that square root goes away, times 5x plus 5x over 2 square root of x. And then to simplify that even more, which is going to be our product, is going to be 5x 2 ln 5x plus 1. And that reasoning is because you can take the 5x's and cancel them out to make it simplified. So then this would just be 1, this would just be x, and that would leave us with basically just this. And this would be our product. And it is on the outside of the equation in case it needs to get added back in.